I now invite Mount Royal's 9th President, David Docherty, to address the Assembly for the first time. David.
Thank you. Your Honors, Chief Rabbit Carrier, Minister Weddick, Mayor Nenshi, honored guests, members of the Legislature, colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here to share this celebration of Mount Royal University's continuing evolution and development. It's an honor to have all of you here. If we were a religious institution, I could play the part of minister and ask everybody to come to the front of the congregation. However, as long as everyone can hear, I think we're good to go. I particularly wish to acknowledge the presence of other post-secondary presidents and representatives who are here. Thank you, and to those presidents and universities who could not attend, but who sent their good wishes. There are also a few guests that I would like to personally recognize. Thanks to Lisa Young, the Interim Dean of Graduate Studies at the University of Calgary. Lisa and I first met when we were graduate students many years ago, and it's great to have her here. Thank you to Michael Atkinson from the University of Saskatchewan. Michael was my MA advisor, and when you saw him cross the stage, he still looks younger than I do. And he's a true academic mentor to me, and it meant the world that he was here. A special thank you to Max, President and Vice Chancellor of Wilfrid Laurier University. It really is an honor, and I appreciate having my former president attend here as well. Thank you to Sherry Palmer and Neil for attending. Sherry was one of the first persons I ever met when my first full-time position as a professor, and we've remained very, very close to this day, and it means a lot to me to have her here. I'd also like to recognize and thank my closest colleague and friend, Dr. Jerry Boychuk, from the University of Waterloo. I've had the honor of knowing Jerry for many years. He's a Wetaskiwin lad who is one of Canada's leading experts in North American healthcare policy. So thank you, Jerry, for being here. And Richard had mentioned earlier, Jerry's the talented part of our garage band. Many of you have gotten to know Chris Henry, who has been so supportive in this move, and frankly, I couldn't have done it without her, and it's so important to have her here. Chris and Madison are adapting well, and it's wonderful that Madison's here, and Madison's grandparents, Chris's parents, David and Marilyn, are here as well. And finally, this is where I'm going to choke up. It means the world to me to have my sons, Angus and Quinn, here. They are a source of many things to me. Inspiration, occasionally frustration, but mainly pride and joy, and it's great to have them here. It's very humbling to stand in front of all of you. I've had the privilege of serving as Mount Royal's 9th president, to be the first person installed as the president of Mount Royal University. I have the joyous task of leading the institution into its 2nd century. My boys tell me I have to get into the 21st century, so I find the challenge of leading into the 2nd century a little more comforting. But I also have the pleasure and privilege of following in the footsteps of great educational leaders from Mount Royal, such as David Marshall, Tom Wood, Don Baker, and Doug Laughlin, to name some of the more recent presidents. I'm honored that 3 presidents are here attending. Former presidents, thank you Tom and Doug for attending here today, and a thank you to Don Baker for joining this celebration virtually, because it's being live streamed, and Don is in the United Arab Emirates right now watching via computer. Thank you, Don. Mount Royal is Alberta's 2nd oldest post-secondary institution, and our inspirational leadership goes back 100 years to our founding principal, George Kirby. While 100 years is a significant milestone, consider this: the modern university traces its roots back to the Middle Ages, yet universities remain an important part of our social fabric today. So while Mount Royal's centennial may not rank up there with more than 8 centuries of European history and universities, it is still a significant achievement in Alberta, and a significant achievement in Alberta history. After all, Mount Royal is only 5 years younger than the province itself. So, how did we manage not only to survive, but to thrive and grow this past 100 years? Let me quote not one, but 2 former presidents. While speaking at his convocation in 1981, former President Don Baker quoted our founder, George Kirby, who said, "There will always be an increased need for such an institution as Mount Royal College, touching closely as it does the personal life and ideals of its students." It appears that Reverend Kirby was very prescient, and Mount Royal has stayed true to his words. When we opened our doors in 1911, we welcomed 179 students in a variety of programs. Later, Recognizing the need to stay relevant and meet the needs of the community, Mount Royal was the first post-secondary institution in Calgary to introduce university courses, and that was in 1931. By the start of the Second World War, Mount Royal had approximately 500 students, but a faculty of only about a dozen. Following the war, we introduced retraining programs for returning servicemen and servicewomen. Again, Mount Royal understood the community needs, and we met and addressed those needs, and we understood our role in addressing social and economic issues. In assisting our returning service people, Mount Royal was indeed touching the lives and ideals of our students and playing a pivotal role in the life of our city by continuing to expand the types of programs we offered. Now, in 2011, we have more than 14,000 full and part-time credit students and a broad mix of bachelor's degrees and applied degrees, as well as university transfer, diploma, and certificate programs. Earlier this year, we introduced Alberta's only Bachelor of Midwifery. This is just a small sampling of how Mount Royal has lived true to the ideals of our first principal, George Kirby, over the past century. Throughout those 100 years, the need for higher education has increased. It is not just cliche to say that our ever-changing world requires a highly educated population. The global village is not one that can afford a poorly educated citizenry. And in retaining our commitment to small classes and strong relationship between students and professors and staff, Mount Royal has touched the lives of students and reinforced the ideals of community. So, all is well? Perhaps not. For just as the need for a better educated citizenry seems to be apparent, we start to see the inevitable backlash against universities. We see it in the national and local media, newspapers, radio, and other media. The call to re-examine the importance of universities has a familiar ring, and I'm sure most of you have heard them. Professors spend too much time researching. Liberal arts teach no practical skills. Universities are not practical. BAs do not provide the type of economic advantages that some have claimed. Should Mount Royal simply ignore such criticism or simply refute them? After all, Mount Royal knows what we're doing well. We have accountability agreements with our provincial funders, and the key performance indicators we have set for ourselves suggest that we are engaged in critical research while scoring very well in student satisfaction. Yet to ignore such criticisms would be a disservice to the memory of George Kirby, and indeed to ignore such criticisms would be a disservice to the very ideals of a university. So perhaps we should step back for a couple of minutes and reflect on the purpose of universities and how Mount Royal can best advance that purpose. What do universities do? Are we the ones who solve society's problems? Hardly. We're among the world's oldest institutions. If universities were created to solve ills, we should have been out of business hundreds of years ago. But universities were never intended to solve problems. Instead, we are seekers of truth and knowledge. Through that search, we hope to identify some of the underlying causes of larger problems. In doing so, we provide our graduating students with the critical skills that will enable them not only to identify issues, but to tackle them. To use the modern sports analogy, universities are not the stars of the game. We are the coaches, we are the trainers. Are universities pathways to riches for graduating students? Certainly we want to improve the lives of our students and to provide a return on the investment that they and their families make in their education. And many of our graduates do well financially, and universities prepare individuals for many professions that society values and rewards with a good standard of living. The purpose of universities, though, is not to generate wealth individually. Our task is much larger. We can take some solace in the fact that individual wealth is often a reflection of what society values. Medicine, law, engineering, architecture, accounting, the list goes on. Those professions originate within the university, and society is far better off when we graduate students who do well in those fields and who do well in a manner that brings value to their communities. In other words, universities do not engage in research and teaching to make individuals richer, but rather to make societies richer. Do universities mold young minds? I sure as heck hope not. It's not our role in universities to take young Marxist idealists and turn them into neoconservative original intent thinkers, nor is our role to take disciples of Alan Bloom and morph them into young Tommy Douglases, shepherding us to a new Jerusalem of the left. To do so would be to betray our purpose. Instead, universities challenge students. We work to help each student emerge from their studies with a better understanding of who they are. Because if every student understands who they are and why they hold a particular worldview, they will be one step ahead when it comes to tackling issues that concern them and their community. Do we live our lives in an ivory tower? Well, anyone who saw the deferred maintenance bills of post-secondary institutions might well wonder where the ivory is. I'm still looking. But do we remain too far removed from the communities we study, be it society, business, politics, the environment? It may appear that way to some, but then again, many of today's most important discoveries in health, economics, politics, and literature all take place in that so-called ivory tower. If critical advances in medicine, science, and economics all find their birth in an ivory tower, then it's a tower worth defending. Do we ignore students in the name of research? Not at all. Students remain our most valuable resource, and universities take tremendous pride in the role we play in transforming young students into engaged members of society. At Mount Royal, we are committed to involving our undergraduate students in primary research, a rare and valuable opportunity on most campuses. I'd ask you to take a quick look at alumni associations across the country from all universities and see the ties that graduates hold to their undergraduate institutions. And that is but one indication of how you students across the country feel about their university experiences. Our graduates are our greatest ambassadors. Universities across this province perform these tasks every day, and all 6 Alberta universities and the other post-secondary institutions deliver post-secondary education with pride, efficiency, and professionalism in critical yet divergent ways. What drew me to Mount Royal is Mount Royal's emphasis on teaching and learning. We inspire learning. This is a lifelong skill that we need to take great pride in fostering. The learning begins when students enter our doors, and it stays with them for life. Mount Royal's strength is the interaction between students, professors, and staff. We teach students to be researchers by emphasizing problem-solving skills, critical thinking skills, communication skills, and group work. We also focus on learning opportunities that introduce our students to the larger community. We teach them the importance of the larger world around them by offering service learning opportunities that engage students in the activities of the community. Mount Royal students also benefit from participating in work terms, internships, and international opportunities. And this is thanks to Mount Royal's close ties between the business and social communities in Calgary and beyond. A quick look at some of Mount Royal's recent successes should confirm that we are on the right track. Last summer, undergraduates such as Megan Smulders, Jesse Merriman, and Gurpreet Gill were among 10 Bachelor of Business Administration students to present their research at national and international conferences alongside graduate and postgraduate colleagues. In June, Kendra Doyle and Amy Warmuck won Governor General's Academic Awards, which are prestigious national awards recognizing the outstanding scholastic achievements of Canadian students graduating with the highest grade point average. Mount Royal graduates are contributing to our community, such as Tim Richter, who is the president and CEO of Calgary Homeless Foundation. Lauren Motley is editor-in-chief of the Calgary Herald. Yu Wong is a graduate of the Mount Royal Conservatory who is making her mark globally as an internationally renowned pianist, named by Gramophone magazine in 2009 as the 2009 Young Artist of the Year. These students and many more represent the depth of our faculties and schools at Mount Royal, and they are but the tip of the iceberg. And what they have in common is what we at Mount Royal must continue to focus on and strengthen, a dedication to being a premier undergraduate institution. For many years, I've been aware of Mount Royal's stellar reputation and the accomplishments of its students and alumni. It's one more reason why I'm honored to be working with the university's exceptional faculty and staff as we build the framework to sustain and lead Mount Royal in our new century. As we continually evolve to touch the lives of our students and our community, both locally and around the globe, we should be driven by the following thoughts, and I suggest that these are the thoughts that should define what we do. First, how do we engage our students? This requires our attention both inside and outside the classroom. Mount Royal's smaller class sizes allow a strong interaction between faculty and students. These are bonds that go beyond the subject matter being taught in class. From finance to Faust, students in all disciplines have an opportunity to understand not just the details, but the approach their professor is taking to tackle problems. They see firsthand how to move from huge issues to answerable questions, and just as importantly or more critically, students also discover that answering the myriad smaller questions allows one to address larger concerns. Outside the classroom, Mount Royal engages students in a number of ways. A university experience and a university education is a holistic experience. It includes time at the gym, time working with campus organizations, time attending guest lectures, time tackling new adventures, and at all times gaining experience that will last a lifetime. We inspire learning by providing opportunities for students to understand that every moment is an educational moment. Second, how do we create citizens? Universities are, or at least should be, in the business of creating citizens. One of the most fundamental questions we should ask before beginning any new initiative at Mount Royal is, does this build citizenship among participants? True, we hope and trust that education and experience provide our students will lead to both intellectual and financial rewards. But universities are not in the business of merely producing taxpayers. We are in the business of creating citizens who give back to society in any number of ways, including supporting state institutions paying their taxes. But the importance of citizenship is much more broad. Citizens have a sense of state responsibilities, but also a full appreciation of their own personal responsibilities to the state, to their neighbors, and to civil society. Every opportunity we offer students in the classroom, student organizations, campus-wide initiatives, international education experiences, national experience, should all share one common root: instilling a sense of citizenship. Third, how do we ensure our students are lifelong learners? Education is not a one-shot event, nor is it a 2, 3, or 4-year experience. If learning is truly inspired, it lasts a lifetime. It does so by focusing not on dates and figures, but on transferable skills. Problem solving and communication skills have a shelf life that far exceeds the memorization of important battle sites and computational equations. Further, inspired learning creates an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and self-improvement, and we must foster inspired learning by example. How do we do it? Well, among the number of Mount Royal events Chris and I have had the honor to attend in recent weeks, two stand out. Feast of Sound and Song is an annual fundraiser that celebrates the amazing work of the Conservatory. And this year, the evening was capped off by a stunning performance by six-year-old cellist Luca Cuzzi. Yes, 6 years old. A few weeks prior, the Alumni Association held its annual Legacy Awards to celebrate Mount Royal alumni. There were many inspiring stories that night, but the Lifetime Distinguished Achievement Award was presented to the Honorable Raymond Lee, who has served for more than 50 years as a leader in Canada's Chinese community. This message should not be lost on our students. From 6-year-olds to distinguished alumni, learning is a lifelong experience. And this message should also inspire those of us who teach and administer and work at the campus and university campuses across the community, the country, because a university campus should always be a campus that instills and nurtures intellectual curiosity and that supports and demonstrates the importance of lifelong learning. So I ask each of you to join me in the next stage of Mount Royal's journey. We have our work cut out for us, but we begin our second century with such promise and support. I am confident we will produce the next generation of citizens and lifelong learners. We will teach through example the benefits of student engagement. We will focus on teaching and learning. As long as our teaching has as its core a concern for the broader community, Mount Royal's classrooms will extend beyond the human-created boundaries of walls to a lifetime of inspiration and the celebration of learning. Thank you very much.